You mentioned Mitchell, 30 shots, and he was 1 of 11 from 3-point range. But man, he got in the paint, and is that something you think the Cavs can build on? Is that kind of one of the things Evan Mobley was talking about?
I hope not. I really hope they don't have to they build on that because I mean Donovan, sure, you had 33 points. He becomes the only player in NBA playoff history to have 8 consecutive game ones in the playoffs where he scores 30 points or more. That's all good and well, but they lost the game, right? And Donovan felt like he had to take 30 shots. It was reminiscent of what happened last year when Donovan had to carry this team. And then you see it again, the overcompensation, the overexhaustion that led to a lingering knee injury that he was dealing with last year into a calf injury. Now you're telling me that he's not going to be at 100%, even though Kenny Atkinson and Donovan Mitchell dodged the question about his injury because they know they're going to need him. So sure, you can tell me that he had a great game from the interior, and he was a guy that we know last year when he was injured didn't get to the inside. He was more so trying to execute from long range. But if you're shooting 1 of 11, you kind of have to go into the interior if the shot's not falling. So I don't necessarily think that's a good sign for the Cavs. I wrote about that for an article today about how it was a warning sign that this is not only reminiscent of last year, but the Cavs have to rely on the system that has gotten them here, right? The assists, the play on offense got sticky. The ball wasn't moving. Sure, they ended up with 25 assists as a team, but it didn't feel like the flow of the offense was moving as fluidly as it has been throughout the year. They had 2 players combined for 50 shot attempts. The Indiana Pacers as a team took 83. That's too many, even if you're Donovan Mitchell, even if you're going to be an all NBA player, even if you're a 6-time All Star. I just don't think that's acceptable. And he shouldn't have to feel like he has to do all of that just for the Cavs to be in the game. And at the end, in the fourth quarter, he wasn't able to even get back on defense because he was so tired. That, on top of dealing with the pace of the Pacers, it's not a good sign for game 2 if the Cavs can't make an adjustment.
So the other thing that jumps out, they were minus 30 from 3-point range. Pacers made 19 shots from 3-point range. Cavs only made 9. Is that just one of those nights for the Cavs, or is it the Pacers speeding them up?
I think it's both. I think you can point to the fact that this was their second worst 3-point percentage all season long. It was also the fewest 3-pointers they had made all year. The next closest was 10. I just think this was a game where they couldn't get their legs under them, right? And even when they had open looks, they were so exhausted from getting up and down the floor. They talked about how the pace and the speed of the Pacers was going to affect them, but I don't think they really knew it until they got onto the floor with them. We talked about this last week about how the Pacers and the Cavs faced off 4 different times in the regular season, but none of those games had all of the players that are on the floor right now. There was either Tyrese Halliburton was out, Darius Garland was out, Donovan Mitchell was out, DeAndre Hunter hadn't been traded for yet. So I think this is a reality check for the Cavs. And there was an understanding coming into the series that the Cavs were a little bit worried about the Pacers. I don't know if worry is the right word, but their understanding of the challenge that they face, their length, their speed, their ability to score the basketball. All of these things that the Pacers are capable of doing puts the Cavs in a precarious situation in a season that where they've been dominant, and now they're facing a team that not only has the personnel to keep up with them, but they have the speed and the style of play to do it as well, and to spread their offense out to make it a lot more difficult on a Cavs defense that simply hasn't been the same since trying to up their offensive growth throughout the year.
So one stat that I'll point to: Cavs outscored the Pacers 70-38 in the paint rather. How do they maximize that? If you're Kenny Atkinson, you got to look at that and go, okay, how do we bludgeon you?
I don't think it matters. Like I think it's important that Jared Allen and Evan Mobley attack the paint viciously and aggressively. But if you get outscored by 30 on the 3-point line, right, it becomes a math problem, right? 3 is more than 2. We all know this. We all been to kindergarten. I just think it's hard to put yourself in this situation where not only are you not being able to maximize the offense because you're playing from behind, you're playing catch up, and now the opposing team is still firing up these threes, but defensively, like Jared Allen and Evan Mobley aren't as fast as guys like DeAndre Hunter and Dean Wade. They're not able to get back on defense as quickly, right? And also you talk about Jared Allen, who has been huge throughout this entire season. He was great in the first round against Miami, but this is a series where, and I've mentioned this before, this is a series where Jared Allen's minutes might get cut a little bit because he's being put into actions. He's being attacked by Tyrese Halliburton, Andrew Nemhard, and he's on the perimeter. And as much as he wants to say that he's trying to get comfortable in those scenarios, it's uncomfortable for him. He hasn't had to do that a lot this season. It's more so been, hey, opposing teams are going to attack Darius Garland, Ty Jerome. You're not going to attack a player that's potentially on the all defensive team, whether it's first or second. We're still waiting to find out, right? I think that's crazy for him to think about. Like, I'm one of the best defenders on this team, and yet you're going to attack me. It's interesting to see how the Pacers have put the Cavs on their heels and made it a point that if you're going to play this two big lineup, you have to find a way to maximize it on the offensive end, whether that's setting screens off ball to get other shooters open. But again, that comes back to my original point. If the Cavs are making shots, and unfortunately for them, it's been like that all year, they're a make or miss league. They're a do or die league in from the 3-point range. The Cavs had 9 losses this season when they shot below 32% from deep. They only lost 18 games. So I think it's important for them to not only continue the aggressiveness in the interior, but even more so, they just got to make shots.